Hi, I'm Benjamin Lawson, and this is Hoosier Homiez. We're a podcast that cover controversial issues and complex topics. This season, we'll be examining Trump's tariffs, AI in the workforce, the blockchain, and several other important topics. I'm looking forward to you getting in the conversation with us.
Boom.
Welcome to Hoosier Homiez. My name is Benjamin Lawson, and joining me is my old roommate from college, Ben Heisler. Ben, thank you so much for joining us on this episode.
I can't believe it's taken this long for us to reignite the roommate fires of the year. Are you going by Benjamin now?
As an author, as somebody who's been published, I go by Benjamin now as a published author and a published writer.
All right. Well, as a former radio talent, I'm just going to stick with Ben. Although I was Benny Heiss as a radio name for a while. That caught on for a bit.
Well, I think that we can just honestly, I'm fine with you just calling me Lawson because that's how we addressed each other when we lived together.
Yeah, I honestly didn't know you had a first name until you told me that it was Ben, and I was like, oh, that's my name too.
Exactly, right? I think we signed the lease first before we figured out what our first names were.
That's true. Although we had like a Ed and Eddie thing type a situation with our third roommate Dan.
Fuck him.
Ben and Dan, and those were some fun times. We were out right by the football stadium over in Bloomington. Yeah. Although we were not part of the established varsity villas, we had our own place, which kudos to you for having. We had a great landlord named Dean who was always there to fix stuff. And those were some wonderful, wonderful years. Our final few years of college, all living together and soaking it up for what was likely to be an interesting evolution into the real world.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, that townhouse itself, it saw some stories.
But we made it a home. Like we were,
yeah.
If we're getting a little inside baseball here before the podcast started, we were talking about how, I visited, I was invited by a friend to go to a whiskey tasting beforehand. So congrats to the audience. You might get some stories. But
that's right. Hey, normally we don't normally drink on the podcast, but we're drinking tonight.
No, special occasion. So it was a Woodford Reserve tasting. I brought home a copper cup, so I got a mule going on in here. But we were talking for college kids, it's not like we were, shilling out all sorts of money on good spirits and beer. Like we just didn't have the nasty stuff.
No.
We drank good beer and had decent spirits in our place because we also knew how to drink.
Well, and we also had a pretty dope TV that you provided.
Wait. Can I show you something?
Do you still have the TV?
Not only do I still have the TV, it is in my office. Right.
Shut
here.
The hell up. No, it's still there.
It is the plasma TV, the Samsung plasma TV. I'm so glad you brought that up. This was not planned. But yes, I still have it. It's basically, it started in our family room at one point, and then it moved and continued to move. The thing is heavy as a mother too.
It was a big ass TV.
But yes, it is still in my office and will occasionally get some usage. And I think I just keep it purely for nostalgia, or I just don't want to schlep it up a flight of stairs and get rid of it. I don't know. It's one of the two.
I mean, I can't remember how many episodes of It's Always Sunny we watched on that thing. And then also how you tried to get me into Seinfeld and I just couldn't get into it.
Was it Seinfeld or was it Curb Your Enthusiasm?
It could have been one of both. I think it's a yes to that. And I don't know what that says about me, but I respect your comedy chops, but it wasn't my forte.
That's fair. It's not for everybody. The friend that I was with at the whiskey tasting tonight, just says Larry David makes him insanely uncomfortable. Like the type of humor, like if you enjoy it the most, sometimes you just want to laugh and sometimes you just want the writing to be exceptional. And Larry doesn't always rub people the right way. And I totally respect it. But for me, the more uncomfortable sometimes the better.
Well, and I mean, like, what was this kind of speaks to the episode that we're going to get into in a few minutes, but like, what was the gambling platform that he and Damon did their ad for? Was it BetMGM or was it DraftKings?
Bet with Ben Affleck and Matt Damon?
No. It was Curb Your Enthusiasm. Larry.
Larry. So his wasn't with a betting platform. If I remember correctly, he did a bit for cryptocurrency.
That's right. It
was a Super Bowl ad for cryptocurrency.
Thank you.
And the whole bit was like he's skeptic about everything except for, ironically, the crypto ad that he did for, which is no longer in business. So dun, 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 da, 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 da. It happens, you know.
That's a whole episode in itself. Which I mean, oh my god, but whatever.
So good.
Yeah,
I can't believe you brought up the TV. That couldn't have worked out more perfect.
Oh my god, that's so great. So I mean, I almost want to ask, like, should we even talk about a story when we were roommates in college? Because like, I do feel like, because how long did we live together? 2 years, 3 years?
2 years. We were neighbors for during our sophomore year, I believe.
Yeah, neighbors sophomore year.
I was next door with the roommate from hell. With
Don, he sucked.
He sucked. His girlfriend ended up moving in with us like a week after the school year started. I woke up in the middle of fasting on Yom Kippur to them bringing home a puppy who pooped everywhere. And then eventually they moved out because we weren't supposed to have a dog. They had a dog and they got kicked out. Rightfully so. So I had that place to myself for about 3 months or so. So that part was great. But it was everything else leading up to it. And then I decided, hey, I like the guy next door. He seems like a good dude. I think his roommates were moving out. We found.
Well, and you were pirating your cable at that time, I think.
That sounds about right too.
Yeah, because I remember very distinctly. I drilled a hole in between the two walls of our apartments so that I could run the cable from one of the boxes in your apartment to my apartment so that we could have cable at the same time.
It's college, man. You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, I was being very resourceful while committing some fairly illegal acts, probably.
Listen, college is about, finding, being resourceful, finding business ventures and setting yourself up for the future. And you didn't set out for a life of crime.
No. I went into a life of education, which
that's right.
I turned it around.
If life gives you lemons, go drill a hole. And you know what? Like, it did prepare you for the future because I'm sure we all have shared a few Netflix passwords and Prime accounts, and we stick it to the man in that sense. So I think if anything, it was the right move. I would support you 1,000 times over.
Yeah, I'm so glad you did, and I'm so glad you do, because I don't think I would be here without that shared cable. Like,
no, that would have been it. If I would have said no, then the podcast isn't happening. This new venture of yours is yet to exist.
Look, man, I'm not a man who messes around with philosophy and the butterfly effect. Like, the butterfly flaps its wings and it makes waves. We've all seen Jurassic Park. Like, we know how it goes.
That's true. Although, and I also like to say that I was one of the first people amongst your circle at the time to get to know your now wife.
That's true. You are. Actually, I think, yeah.
because you started dating Sally, I think you guys like made it official during the year that we had lived together, our first year.
No, it was
sophomore year. Was it earlier?
It was before we started living together because I had the drug dealer living with me that summer before you moved in. who never locked the doors and would have clients coming in at 3 a.m. And there was the one guy hit with the fire extinguisher in the face.
And then you learned from life's lessons and you married a lawyer.
I did. And now she no longer practices law, thank God.
That I didn't know. Oh,
yeah,
she's moved on from the world of law.
Yeah, and I won't get in too much to what she does just out of respect for her privacy, but yeah, man, like you were one of the early ones to see that relationship blossom and turn me into the better man that I am today, the kind of man who doesn't pirate cable and hit people with fire extinguishers.
No, she was a wonderful influence for you. You both complemented each other very well. If you were talking about stories, I remember the patience that she showed, because at one point I think she didn't like video games, but she wanted to watch you play and support you while you were playing, because you would go on a journey with some of those games that you would take on. And I remember you had it in your room and I would just hear, initially I was like, what are those sounds coming from Ben's room? I was like, are they okay? No, it was just him playing a video game.
Oh yeah. The slew of fuck words and me throwing shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that was, yeah.
She probably saved an air conditioner from going out the window. And, we thank her for that.
We do thank her for that, because those air conditioners were not cheap.
Inside the apartment where everything else was.
Right. Well, and then we also had that. I mean, I don't know if you remember this, but I know I talked to you about our friend Phil, who had a visit the other week. But do you remember our blue couch that magically appeared in our backyard?
I sure do.
Yeah, that was a story that came up over the weekend a couple days ago of just like, well, we don't dare sit on this motherfucker because we don't know who's been there.
No.
But like during Little Five, we would let anyone else who would traverse our backyard. Y'all can sit. Y'all can
make yourself at home. What can we get you to drink?
Yeah, please make yourself comfortable. Like we are Southern gentlemen. But we wouldn't dare sit on that fucking couch.
No, we knew better. And it's not as if the couch appeared to be gross. It appeared to be fine. We just knew, it had a story.
It appeared out of nowhere.
Yeah, it was like it was an onion couch.
Yeah,
you peel back a couple layers, you'll see some shit.
It was a good couch, though.
Yeah.
For one I've never sat on.
Right. Pour one out for the couch that we've
pour one out for the couch
never sat on, and yet had it in our lives for a few years.
Yeah. Well, okay, so let's first off, Ben, it's so good to have you on the podcast. And it's been years since we've had a chance to really get together. So like, obviously this is going to be a lot of us just kind of having fun, joking around.
Yeah.
But like, you have a degree, you have a background in sports journalism, and sort of what we're going to be talking about today is our main topic is going to be sports betting, but also stuff going on with the Chicago Bears. So I do want to talk about that, but I also want to ask you about your history with sports journalism and what made you fall in love with the field, what got you into it. Obviously, you're a graduate of the Pyle School of Journalism.
Wait, do I have time to pour another one out for the Ernie Pyle School, which is now the Cuban Center?
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, really. I mean, I will forever call it the Pyle School.
You should, because that day, that glorious building and program should remain in our lexicon forever. It's a wonderful, wonderful journalism school.
Well, first off, Ernie Pyle, great American Hoosier and
absolutely
a amazing journalist who gave his life in the Pacific during the Second World War,
Right.
covering the conflict.
Absolutely.
The fact that it has changed from the Pyle School to what is it now?
The Cuban Center for communications,
which I don't know a lot about that, but pretty gross.
Yeah, in fairness to the Cuban Center, when my wife and I went to visit Bloomington back in, I think it was 2017, 2018, maybe, just came up in the middle of a February weekend. We went and we toured it.
Yeah.
Got a chance to say hi to my friend, Dr. Galen Clavio, who's one of the leaders there. And it's a beautiful building, like what they've turned Franklin Hall into. And it is wonderful to see like the amount of opportunities and the adjunct professors that they've brought in to really teach the evolving world of communications and elements of the world of journalism that's now more adaptive to where the industry is going. So it's disappointing to know that like a once proud journalism school no longer stands next to the union. But there's a part of me that also understands why they went the route that they did. And I give them a lot of credit for at least not just punting on it entirely, but really leaning into where a lot of the industry is going and providing like very valuable resources for the students there. So it's a mixed bag of feelings for me. I just wish they would have felt that the journalism industry could still stand and was worth teaching, because to me, I feel like more than ever, just an understanding of how journalism works in current times could be so effective for so many young minds that are trying to understand the world that we live in. And I didn't mean to take it from, not sitting on disgusting couches into our journalism world is forever screwed. But yes, that's how I feel.
Well, I mean, but at the same time, there's from a disgusting couch, from a disgusting world of journalism and a disgusting president, and I have no problem going there. I mean, look at what happened last weekend. We're basically, everything that I've been seeing up until last Saturday was talking about bemoaning the death march of the First Amendment. And that's not just in sports journalism. It's in journalism all over the place in this country. Like it's going the way of the dodo. And that's frankly terrifying. Like we built this country 250 years ago on the premise of, if we're pissed at our government, we have the not only the ability but the right. Like it is our right to demand a redress of grievances and to demand that our government be held accountable. And right now that's not happening.
It's not happening at all. And I think what was most frustrating about it, for so many people, and maybe this was like the first time that he ran, was it was on this premise of, look, it actually, if you kind of look back now, it's an interesting exercise, like from 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I remember like Chappelle at one point kind of talked about this in the sense of like Trump was like a truthful liar, right? Like he was like, yeah, you know that this guy is full of shit, but he's also calling out what all of us have been expecting all along. You know, like, oh yeah, of course, all these different politicians don't pay taxes, and of course the government is stealing from you, and they're playing by a different set of rules. But many people believe that he was going to be the champion for them instead of the champion for himself. And then you've seen the route that he's gone for the second presidency, which is, let's enrich myself as much as humanly possible and enrich my friends, while the rest of the country continues to rabble and quarrel with each other over cultural discussions and points. So yeah. And again, like, we are also in a world where we don't really want to seek out both sides. And a lot of it, I understand why too. Like, because there's so much more information. It's all being delivered to us as quickly and easily as possible, but it's coming from the places that we want our news delivered, and we're in the same discussion pools. Like, one of my favorite things, I'll tell you this. One of my favorite things is being able to have like this little side gig that I do, where I work with these retirement planning advisors, and I host a radio show with them, and both of them are fairly they're not fairly, they're very conservative, fiscally and politically, and culturally maybe not so much. Like I think if they're like, I don't think anyone would be like, why gay people shouldn't exist. Like they're not like that.
Yeah.
But they're like, they're religious. So I think a lot of that worldview is often in place. But man, like, it is nice to just know that I can have a conversation with them and we can disagree, and I can call them out politely if they say something that isn't true, and I can prove it to them, and we can get about our day, and we can still joke and laugh with each other. And like, that type of discourse just doesn't exist in any sort of online world. You have to go and physically seek it out.
Yeah.
And I would encourage anybody like to go and do that, especially if you feel like, I think I can help change their perspective. You're not going to do it online. Like you're just not wired to be in defense mode first. But man, if you just like sit and talk with somebody, and it sounds old fashioned, like you go and have a beer with them and you just learn about where their worldview comes from, you'll realize that, okay, I kind of understand it. Maybe I don't agree with it, but here's my perspective. And once they feel heard, you're more likely to be heard by them. And it's just not something that exists anymore. But man, like, I really enjoy that moment in my life every week where I get to talk with somebody that I don't agree with politically, but I know that they're a good human being and we can have a reasonable conversation about it.
See, that's actually really refreshing. And I really wish that there is more of that in the world. And I think that honestly, if if I could encourage people to do that more, to seek out diverse opinions other than your own, to engage with perspectives that you don't necessarily hold, but you can engage with respectfully. Like, I'm not saying go find a Nazi to talk to. No.
It certainly wouldn't work out well for me. I may not make it for the second conversation.
Yeah, no. Yeah, you're the wrong audience for that. Sorry, buddy. But or like a vehement racist or a sexist or anything like that. But like,
dreams are never gonna work. But like, there's plenty of people that are just on the other side of the political spectrum that you can't have meaningful dialogue with. And anybody extreme on either side is going to be, they're gone. They're already lost. They're not willing to hear. That's part of the extremism. Yeah.
Well, and like, even my stepdad, when he was still with us, I remember one of the last conversations I had with him when I was still teaching and he was still alive, asking him, "Are you really going to vote for this guy again, Trump, essentially?" Because he doesn't have your interest at heart. Like, you make less than $100,000 a year. You don't have a high school education, or you have the equivalent of a high school education. He's not your guy, man. He's not your guy.
Yeah.
And he was just like, "I don't care. I'm never going to give up propane. I'm never going to give up oil. I'm always going to use coal. Like, Trump is my man." I'm just like, well, man, I love you, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to change your mind.
Yeah.
And I couldn't, and I didn't. And that sucks. Because, again, he's that extreme, like there are those people that just won't listen.
Yeah. And I'm sure there probably are folks on the other side that feel that we might be in that camp too of being unwilling to listen because our opinions won't change. And I think if we go into it with the perspective of I'm going to change this person's opinion, that you're not going to have that happen. But if you go in thinking like I want to better understand why this person has this belief and ultimately get to know them better, then like that's where real dialogue will happen. Because then you might talk about your families, or then you might root for the same sports team, and you find common ground, and then those walls are slowly being broken down. Like I part of why I got into, you were asking me like sort of where a lot of all this came from.
Yeah. You should probably actually, steer this back.
I can try. There are sort of two elements to like.
Yeah, my editor is going to be so pissed at
this. Sending big hugs from afar.
Yeah. Sorry, Nico.
Thank you, Nico, and God bless. There were two sort of avenues as to why I knew that I wanted to pursue this professionally. The first was I got to be around radio and broadcasting as a young kid. My mom was a career consultant. She was a former lawyer turned career consultant for lawyers who were miserable with their lives and wanted to leave the law profession behind and become a chef or work at the Golf Channel, or like this wide variety of careers. And my mom used to have a radio segment on the news talk station in Chicago. It's called WBBM. And I remember going to the radio station with her, watching her record, seeing the light turn on and talking into the microphone. And then I would listen in the car and I would hear her. And I thought that was the coolest thing. Yeah. And a few years later, I think I was 10, we were in Los Angeles, and my mom's sister at one point hosted an evening talk show on KFI, which was like the news talk station there. Yeah. And this is so funny looking back on this, 26 years later. It was right in the middle of the Bill Clinton, Monica Lewinsky scandal. And she had me on to co-host for an hour. And the whole topic was, what do kids actually know about this? Like, what have they heard? Like, what do they think it is? Did they say, like, did the president lie? Do they know that he got a blowjob? Like,
wait, and how old were you again?
I was 10.
You were 10.
But she wanted to know like the kids' perspective of this major scandal going around. And like, I think it was a really interesting topic.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was really fun. But like, here I am sitting in a co-host seat. I got like the microphone. I have like my own button that I get to push. I had the headphones on.
You got the cans on and everything. Yeah.
Yes. Like the plug-in Sonys. It's the coolest thing. And like, I just kept pursuing that. High school, we had a radio station. Obviously, we had WIUX at Indiana, and I got to be sports director there for 3 years. It was just this interest of like...
You mean in college, right?
In college, yeah. Of like having this audience, finding something that like we had the shared interest on. And for me, it was sports. And then just doing whatever I could to pursue it. I initially thought I was going to do play-by-play. And then I realized that most baseball announcers don't sound like Mickey Mouse on helium, and I had to punt on that. So I did the sports radio.
You had a great voice, though, dude. You still have a great voice.
I appreciate it. I've learned to embrace it a little bit more, because even though it's a higher register, it's friendly and familiar and distinct.
It's like, that great voice for radio, bro.
It's people do remember it. But it's not a good baseball broadcaster voice. But I pursued it for a long time, and I got to be a part of...
We all can't be Harry Carey, okay?
No, listen, you don't want to be Harry Carey. If you tried to be Harry Carey, you'd sound drunk half the time.
He was drunk half the time.
Know where you are. There. By the way, there are two Harry Careys. There's the actual Harry Carey, 2 and 2 on Sammy Sosa. As you know, that Sosa spelled backwards as Homiez. And then you have the Will Ferrell Harry Carey, which is like over the top, like, hey, would you eat the moon if it were made of ribs? If you were a hot dog and you were starving, would you eat yourself? I know I would. I'd smother myself in mustard. I'd be delicious.
That's the Harry Carey that I know.
Right, that's the Will Ferrell style Harry Carey. There's multiple Harry Careys. But I did the radio thing for a while, and I really enjoyed it. And in Kansas City, like, it was the perfect time. Like, we had that dream show. It was myself. It was two guys named Danny Parkins and Carrington Harrison. We were all under 30. We were in our mid 20s doing afternoon drive in Kansas City. And we built up a real loyal, awesome following, and we did great in the ratings, and things in Kansas City were going really well from the sports standpoint. The Royals won the World Series. They were in back-to-back World Series. The Chiefs were starting to get better. They got Mahomes towards the end of our run. So there's just like really cool things happening. And then I felt ready to try something else and try a different challenge. And so I stayed in the sports industry for a while. I was an editor and a writer for Sports Illustrated for a bit. Worked at a startup at Minute Media called BetSided. I was part of a startup in the fantasy sports space. And then, the sports media industry and media industry just continued to evolve and change. And there were multiple layoffs, and started, at that point I got married and started a family. I've a 7 and a 5-year-old now. And I didn't want to deal with more flux in a world where, even though I really enjoyed it, I felt like I needed something a little bit more stable, and then still be able to do things like this where I can scratch that itch and still tap into that creative and connective side of the work. And that's wasn't the case for a lot of folks who had to leave, the journalism and the radio and the sports content business behind. It's like these new avenues weren't there. And so, yeah, I'm in the corporate world now, and I've enjoyed it. And I still love being able to like tap into that side where you can still build up an audience organically. And if I want to just do a show where I'm talking to my friends and doing something, I'm doing it for me. And that's incredibly satisfying. Like, if we don't have much of an audience, so be it. Like, I'm doing this for me at this point. And that feels very, very, very gratifying.
Yeah, no. And I think that, the minute that you lose the joy in it for your own self, I mean, this is a relatively new adventure for me, and I'm enjoying every step of the way that I'm doing this. Like, I've been fortunate enough in the last 6 months, I've been able to go to Chicago to tape episodes. I've talked to AI lawyers. I've talked to CEOs. Like I told you, tomorrow I'm talking to somebody, an expat living in Sevilla, Spain. Yeah. I'm trying to get an interview lined up with a DJ that I knew that is a British citizen, and we're just going to talk music for a couple hours. Like, I mean, literally one of the things in my taglines is, I don't know what this show is going to be, but I'm looking forward to finding out what it is.
And is that the best?
Yeah.
Like, you get to use this show as like a form of Play-Doh to create something that you can kind of fall in love with and build an audience with from a very like ground level format. Like, most people go in thinking like, I need to, because everything is so niche, I need to do a show that appeals to Star Wars fans, but only Star Wars fans that hate Baby Yoda. And I don't know. That's the show. That's the premise. That's the audience that I have to collect on. And
which, if that's your show, fuck you for that, because Baby Yoda is a treasure.
Yeah. Noda Yoda. Coming soon to the iTunes. No, it's not even the iTunes music store. It's the Apple store. So you can keep finding that avenue, and ultimately you're just like, you're talking to dope people with interesting stories. And I apologize that you had to find me in the middle of it.
What are you talking about, dude? What are you talking about? No. I've been looking forward to this for weeks. The whole bit about me approaching you so long ago to be like, oh, you want to help me edit, was just like, eventually just like, you want to come guest star?
This was just a whole inception play by you the entire time. It was an appearance with a podcast appearance within a podcast appearance.
I think that's the nicest thing you've ever said to me.
I hope that's not true.
That's the nicest compliment you've ever given me. Like, you've basically called me Christopher Nolan. And you know what?
Now I see where this is going with it.
You know what? I will take it. I'll take it every day of the week and twice on Saturday.
With it.
And twice on the Sabbath. So, okay, you're in Kansas City right now, and you're a native Chicagoan, just like me. So we both, one of the things we both found out, and we found out about each other before we lived together, was that we were both Chicago transplants. I moved to Indiana way before you did, but what actually ended up making you move out west to Kansas City?
I love how Kansas City is like out west, like in the wild west of Kansas City. But
you're west of the Missouri River.
That's right. Yeah, all the radio stations start with K over here. What a world. So I moved to Kansas City. I was living in Washington, D.C. at the time. I had moved to D.C. from, I guess it was Chicago, because I was about 2-3 months out of graduating. And I got a job at MLB Network Radio as a producer. And I wasn't going to be on air. And that was my aspiration at the time. And the girl that I had dated through most of my junior year and senior year, she had family in DC. We were living together at the time. We were together about 5 years. But an opportunity opened up in Kansas City with my buddy Danny Parkins, who's now over on FS1. And it was one of those opportunities, Ben, that I kind of knew if I didn't take it, I would absolutely regret it. And I was naive enough to think that, like, things with Amanda and I will just work out. Yeah. And the reality was, like, it wouldn't, because her career was in DC and I needed something different.
Yeah.
And she realized it, and I was naive about it. And then it took a handful of months to realize it by the time I moved out here. But I moved here for a gig. I didn't know much about Kansas City at the time, other than I heard it was a good sports town. 45-minute drive from the University of Kansas, a couple hours away from University of Missouri. Chiefs fans, Royals fans, they had just their MLS team, Sporting Kansas City, just won an MLS Cup. Like, it was a growing city. People were really happy here, and they sort of treated the city like this sort of hidden gem that they loved that nobody else really knew about. Like, yeah, you think we're flyover country? That's fine. Like, we'll just, you guys just won't come and experience what we have. And if you do experience it, you will be welcomed with open arms. And honestly, man, like, I thought I'd be in Kansas City for a couple of years and try and make my way to Chicago. That was always the plan. And I've been here now for about 12 and a half years.
Yeah.
2014. So this is home. Like, this is my home now. And we're so happy here. It's a city that has, like, doubled down on itself. So there's times where it's a little annoying. Like,
okay,
it can be hesitant to change. A classic example, Kansas City had, like, this rinky-dink airport. Like, straight out of the 1950s, where, like, you'd walk in and then security was, like, right over here. And then you go through security and then you kind of walk around a little area to your gate. There was probably 2 urinals in the entire airport, maybe one place to get food. But you know what? Everybody loved it because it was just so easy to get in and out. And I'm like, we need a real fucking airport. Like, I'm here and they're like, what? This is, do you have anything to offer people? Like, do you have any, like, your airport is a first impression of your city. Like, I remember when the Indy airport got built. It was, like, right in the middle of when we were in college, I think.
Oh, yeah, the major facelift of that thing.
Yeah, and it was beautiful, and it made, like, this striking impression. And immediately it made me think, like, oh, like, this is a real ass city now.
And everything was like Indy 500 coded.
Yeah.
And, because that's all we are, is like we just know how to go left turns real fast.
Yeah. But you know what?
That's fine. Whatever.
But it embraced who they are. Like, and
left
they're
turn,
like,
real fast.
Okay with it. Right. Just keep turning left. You have to go in. You actually have to enter the airport all the way on the right side of the terminal, and then just keep going left.
Keep going left. Just keep going left.
Eventually, you'll make your way back around. But Kansas City built this like world-class airport 2-3 years ago. It was right around the time that the NFL draft came here, and like I think that was sort of like my moment of like, I'm a Kansas Cityan, because I was fully canvassing for it, and it made all the sense in the world, and I was involved. I was in it. And so we love where we live. We love the people here. It's a really good place to like raise a family, and also have like a lot of really cool culture nearby, and great food, and
your food, your barbecue.
You want to hear a story?
Of course I do.
You remember
on the cast?
Do you remember? So I grew up Jewish, like a conservative Jew, which was like, I kept kosher in my house. I would eat like chicken and beef.
I'm just gonna keep quiet and let you tell these stories.
I had never tried pork or shellfish on purpose, and we went to what was it called? Like Slappin' Jacks?
Smoking Jacks.
And
it's still actually in Bloomington, by the way.
Is it really?
Yeah, man, it's still there.
And I think I was with you the first time I had ever tried, like, was it ribs, like baby back ribs?
So I remember that. Can I take over? Can I steer for you?
Yes.
So
please.
I remember this distinctly, because I couldn't stop laughing my ass off at this, because I found it so hilarious, because I was so non-religious at the point.
Yeah.
At that point in my life.
Right.
Like I remember you had ordered like half a chicken.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. Which, whatever.
Good smoked chicken goes along with it.
Great smoked chicken. And the server was just like, they brought out your food and they said, we are out of chicken, so here's a half a rack of ribs. And I think I literally had to get up and excuse myself from the table because I was laughing so hard, because I knew there was no fucking way you were going to eat those ribs, because like you were having a moral dilemma.
I can make this joke. You know what a Jew's biggest dilemma is, right?
No idea.
Free pork. But yeah, those are some good ribs, and I think you lost the bet.
Yeah, they were some good ribs. How'd the guilt taste?
I mean, here I am sharing the story now. No, I still like don't have it in the house. That's sort of like my way that I deal with it. But like whenever I'm out, something sounds good, I'm going for it.
Good for you, man.
Yeah, life's too short.
I love it.
Life's too short. I don't even. Why did remind me why we went down this? Oh, because we were talking about Kansas City.
Yeah.
The barbecue there. Yeah.
So I wanted to ask,
need to come and experience it for yourself, because it's fantastic.
So funny thing, my brother did live in Kansas City, Missouri.
Yes.
I
remember I saw him. I hung out with him a few times.
Yeah, but now he's in St. Louis. But there were some times that we would drive across the border, because it was 45, 50 minutes between the border.
To the Illinois side? Or from St. Louis? Or to Indiana?
No. From Kansas City, Missouri to Kansas City, Kansas.
Oh, yes. KC Mo to KC. Yeah. That was around like 10, 15 minutes, depending on where you were.
10 to 15. Yeah. I mean, from where he was on his side of the city to, yeah.
Yeah.
But then again, that was also one of the few times I went out there, he was very much like, oh no, it's open container. You can drink and I can just drive you around. And I was just like, okay, great.
Yeah. And on the Missouri side, I think it still might be that case. Yeah.
Good for them.
The wild world.
It's the Wild West out there. So okay. Would you say that? I mean, I guess. What is one of the things you miss about living in Chicago then?
Oh man. So I want to premise this by saying I never lived in like the city. I grew up in the suburbs.
Right. I mean, me too. But like, I still consider Chicago. I still consider us Chicago natives.
Yes. But I always lived like vicariously whenever I would come back, you know, because my brother and my sister, they lived in the city. A lot of my closest friends lived in the city, and all these different like wonderful neighborhoods. I think I certainly miss that. I miss a lot of those walkable neighborhood city feels where you could go and catch a Cub game and then go just walk down the streets of like Clark and Sheffield and just find like a corner tavern and just soak in the scene of like being in that neighborhood. And the food scene in Chicago, like, yes, the food scene in Kansas City has become like exceptional, but it's not Chicago. It will never be Chicago.
I mean, there's no Greek town like Chicago's Greek town.
No Greek town, you know, like different parts of like the Ukrainian village that was wonderful.
Otherwise.
Yeah. My sister lived for a while in Wicker Park, and there were some amazing restaurants in Wicker Park. On West Randolph Street, and Fulton Market. Like it's just such a fun city that I just will always have these. Like I have a Fergie Jenkins signed jersey behind me, and then I have you know a bunch of Cub stuff behind me and some Kansas City gear as well. But like that's my background is like I have my Chicago fandoms still connected to there. Yep. So I feel it, and I miss the accents. I the Chicago accent is so funny to me. You know, a lot of people, it's like, oh, you just sound like the super fans, da Bears, you know, Coach Dick, and you know, you would hear that like when you would listen to sports talk radio. It's like Bob from the South Side wants to talk about the Sox. It's like, hey guys, yeah, what are they gonna do about these White Sox? Like,
yeah.
It was like foundational to like the culture that you were in. So I think I miss that, and I miss the scene around the city, and I'd say that's probably it. You know, like I never had a desire to move back to like the neighborhood that I grew up in, and a lot of my friends have done that. Like they're back on the North Shore, and I always felt like it was never going to be the right fit for me. But I love coming back to Chicago, and I'm also grateful that like I'm now living here, and that's like there's sort of these different avenues of my life now that I get to experience both.
That's cool. That's really cool. Yeah. And I think I feel the same way. I love Chicago. Like I was, like I said, I was up there last November visiting one of my best friends from literally kindergarten while we were doing a friend of the pod, Miles Lewis Alexander.
Great name.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And like he and I we were sitting in his office, and you know, we were having a cocktail, and he's literally like his office faces the river, and I was just, you know, just looking at the river, and I was just like, this is my favorite city in the world. Like without a doubt, like hands down, give me any other city, I'm choosing Chicago. Yeah. Every time.
Yeah. I've gone to New York for work the last few years, and I love New York.
Oh, New York's great, hands down.
I could never live in New York. It would be it's my FOMO in New York, dude, it's catastrophic. Like, I feel like, well, I'm in New York. I'm here for 3 days. I'm just not going to sleep. I'm just going to go and explore. And that's not good for anybody. And like, I'm a 38-year-old man. Like I need to sleep.
Yeah, we need it's like it's hard. We're not 21 anymore, dude. We can't do 36 hours of no sleep anymore.
can I ask you a question? Because I'll have like my moments where in my head I'm still that 21-year-old, and then it just like evaporates into thin air. Like how often do you still get that feeling where like you're like, yeah, I could do that, and then you come to the realization like, no, you idiot, of course you can't.
Every god day, buddy. Every goddamn day. I am literally grappling with my mortality every goddamn day. No, I was actually, it's funny you say that, because I was talking, and because, hey, therapists and BetterHelp, maybe you should sponsor this. But like, I was actually talking with my therapist today about this, of just like, I remember when I was 22, 23, 24, and I thought that I could conquer the goddamn world. I'm 38, and I still feel that way sometimes. And I don't think that's right. And she was like, yeah, maybe you need to pump the brakes on that.
But you know what I remember about you, though, is that even in those moments of like, I'm ready to conquer the world, I also remember you as like an older 20, 21, 22-year-old where you're like, yeah, I'm going to let all you idiots go and do the bar thing. And I'm just going to hang out and drink my quality beer at home and just enjoy myself. I don't need all that riffraff. And I'm like, what? How old are you again? And I'm like, God, he was so right.
Well, because you got the good TV for me to watch.
That's all it was.
I didn't have to go anywhere.
That's true.
I didn't have to go anywhere. All of our stories, we had HBO. What the fuck else was I gonna do?
I mean, you when you say it back, like it makes all the sense in the world.
Like, I had a budget. I had a budget, and I was just like, I don't want to go out to the bars because I'm just gonna spend money there.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna spend my budget on the beer that I want to drink, and I'll play video games, and I'll watch it on Heisler's really nice TV that he bought the house, and I'll watch Star Wars, and I'll be happy.
In fairness, what you probably spent on your 12-pack of Moosehead was probably the equivalent of what Dan and I would spend at Mug Night at Jake's.
Oh, very fair. Oh, very fair.
And, at least you would remember that night.
Not always.
Not always. Fair enough. Pour out another one for Jake's.
Goodbye, Jake's.
That was a scene. I was actually thinking about, I was trying to explain the Bluebird to somebody the other day.
Hey, that's still around, by the way.
Love I feel like everybody has a Bluebird story, or most people from Bloomington have a Bluebird story of like the one group that you saw there that like before they really made it big.
Yeah.
Like I was like 5 feet away from the Abbott brothers.
That's right. You were.
It was a great show. Ingrid Michaelson came there. I remember like my ex-girlfriend and I went to that show. I saw, he was actually back in the news a handful of weeks ago. I saw Afro Man there with Dan. Yep. Although he was too, not often do you see someone that's too stoned to like go on stage, but Afro Man like showed up like 2 hours late, was like too stoned, did like 2 songs and left. I was like, yeah, I want my $5 back for oh, well, I guess I'll have another 15-cent draft.
Yeah.
Drown out my sorrows.
Keep those Bud Lights coming.
I don't even want to know what was in those Bud Lights.
Oh, sadness.
Draft nights. Just
sadness and despair.
Yeah, just afterwards, though. But at the time, it was what a win.
I can still remember, and Sally and I will still joke about the number of mugs that Dan would bring home at the end of those nights every week. And just like, Jesus fucking Christ, man, we don't need 20 new mugs every week.
I think he wanted to use them as beer pong cups in case, the Pizza Express cups didn't work out.
I never explored that psychology. I don't think I had the bandwidth at the time to do that. It was literally just a God damn it. just more of these things in our house.
Sounds like my wife. It's like I break in. Like I was like, hey, yeah, I got a t-shirt from this place for the boys. It's like, really? They need more clothes. It's like, it's a fucking t-shirt.
They grow.
Right. Don't need new ones. She's like, I've got that. Like, I take care of the clothes for the children around here. I was like, okay, I'm just trying to lighten the mental load. That's all.
Try to help.
Try to help. Wasn't on the list, but I got it anyway. That's a whole thing, like that when you have kids, like, you learn about your spouse's mental load.
Oh yeah,
which like is 100% a real thing, and I have learned. I sound like I'm about to like do a bit. Like, I'm not doing a bit, but it's just not.
If you want, it's fine. You can do a bit. It's a safe space.
Yeah, I haven't workshopped this.
YouTube is a safe space, dude.
It depends on who you ask. But like, I'm glad that spouses have found like an actual word to describe it, other than you don't do anything. I'm like, no, we do. It's just not on your list that we didn't know about. That's all.
Yep.
Like, we do plenty,
yep.
but just wasn't incorporated into the list. That's all.
So for me, my big thing with my girls is I don't know what size their clothing is. And I know that's probably not a good thing. I should probably know what size their clothing is. But every time, like, I'm looking at something at a Target or like I'm at a store, I just don't buy clothing for them because like it's either going to be way too big or way too small. And I'm just not taking that chance anymore. Like I don't want to roll those dice.
But aren't they at the age though? Well, because like I totally understand that like once they get older and then you get into like the weird women's sizes that I don't understand, where like everything is like an even number, I think.
See, that's I don't know. I don't even
aren't like you could, unless they're like a youth small, medium, youth large. I always thought like it went up to like 6-year-olds have like size 6, 7-year-olds have like size 7. And I don't know when that stops, maybe after 7 or 8, and then it goes to just youth. But I think we're still in like, oh, they're 5 years old. You get them a 5, or if you wanted them to grow into it, you get them a 6.
I will say this: I had a recent success at Costco with my youngest daughter, Cora. We were just walking past these Easter dresses, and she saw one, and she was like, "I want it." And I was like, fuck. Because I was like, well, we're going to have to do a crapshoot because I don't know what size you are.
Yeah.
So I literally had to like stop everything I was doing. Like, I checked her size on the back of her shirt, on the back of her pants. I held the dress up like to her body. And then I was like, all right, I'm fairly certain this is the right size. And then she was like, what about Beatrice? I was like, shut fucking kidding me. Because Beatrice being the older sister, I'm just like, God damn it. And so like I had to do a crapshoot, and luckily I rolled 6s. So wow. Yeah, I luckily rolled.
You were
6
strutting around your house that day.
I felt like a god.
Yeah, and I, knowing Sally, I'm sure she gave you that same type of triumphant reception that you were expecting.
Hell no.
That's yeah.
She's like, "Oh, you did your job?
Yeah.
Did your job. Good. Good for you.
Yeah.
Congratulations." She's very good at grounding me.
Yeah. Which we need.
Which we need. Well, so, okay, let me ask you this. Is there anything you miss about living in Bloomington?
Oh, sure.
Other than living with my stupid ass?
Which I thoroughly enjoyed. Living with you and Dan amongst like my roommate types of experiences was the best. Like, we all genuinely liked each other. We respected each other. If we needed to deal with some bullshit and just hash it out, we could.
Yep,
like,
I agree with that.
It was was healthier than a lot of marriages, man. Like we just we worked together and we were good, respectable roommates for each other. So like I had a blast. There's always something kind of magical about a college town, right? Like you have the bar scene and like all the excitement nearby. I'll say this, like I never felt like I could truly be a football fan at IU because I was always covering the team. Like I went to a bunch of games, but mostly I was like in the press box. I was like doing podcasts or I was, doing reports. And Indiana had a decent football team when I was there. Like that was the year that they beat Purdue on that field goal. Our sophomore year is the year after Terry Hepner died. You remember when Terry Hepner died?
Yeah.
I thought like they were on like a precipice. Like that was going to be their time. And it wasn't. But like, I don't know. I loved being around like that community. And having so much like all just right on like the back steps of where I lived. That was really special.
Yeah.
So I miss Bloomington all the time. I would love to get back there for a game or just for, I don't even know if I want to go for like a big like alumni weekend. Because to me, Bloomington for me is more fun when I just kind of get to peruse around and then go to a game. But not necessarily because like, all the dads are in town or, it's homecoming. I don't give a shit about homecoming. Like, I don't even know if I would love to go back for Little Five. Like
it's gotten really, it's not as, I don't know, like living there as long as I have, it's sort of gotten to a point where it's not as, the sort of the appeal wears off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For sure. I when I went back in 2018, like it was weird seeing all the new spots that had come in. I remember going to I went back to Farm. I was a server at Farm my senior year. If you remember that.
Right. I remember that.
And I remember and I took my wife there and I was like, you guys, this food's gonna be amazing. Like this was like the place that everybody went to. Mm-hmm. And like it was good. But I think I like set it up. We enjoyed going to Uptown right next door a lot more. And God, there's like this new like draft house place that I'd never heard of before. It was fun to go see Kilroy's when it wasn't, a crazy mess. I just have very fond memories of the campus and the surrounding city.
Yeah.
And the people. And obviously like the games there. So I would love to visit it more. I think at this rate, I probably will be back there in another year or so. But yeah, like there's always going to be that nostalgia attached to Bloomington for me. Cause I had a wonderful experience there.
Yeah. I mean, well, when you do go, let me know and we'll make sure to get together.
Of course.
Since I'm obviously not there anymore, but
I'm not going to leave you hanging on that one.
Yeah, really. Yeah. Well, so let's transition because I really want to talk to you about the big news about the Bears and their potential move.
So I feel like I need to give a little bit of context.
Okay.
For what's happening right now, because as we record this podcast, there has not been any sort of definitive decision. The news could break while we're talking, or it could be in the next several months. Nobody's really sure. It's been an ongoing story for what feels like several years. So the Bears have played at Soldier Field, which is a historical landmark on right on Lakeshore Drive. It's a very cool landmark, but right now the stadium looks like a spaceship landed in it, and kind of an eyesore, and it's the smallest stadium in the NFL, and the Bears don't actually own it. This is important. It is the Chicago Park District owns the stadium.
Oh, okay. See, I didn't know that.
So, and the Bears, obviously it's like an iconic institution, like the evaluation like on Forbes, it's like, several $1 billion. Like they're not the McCaskey family who owns the Bears, like an original franchise in the NFL. Like they're not poor, but they are cash poor. Like it's not as if this is their side business, like a lot of other NFL owners who are in oil or, they built a hedge fund or whatever. Like everything is tied up in the Bears.
Yeah.
And they're now faced with sort of this existential crisis of like, what do we do when we have to move out of here? Because our lease is going to be up in 2030 something, And several years ago, they purchased the old Arlington racetrack in Arlington Heights, Illinois, one of the suburbs, about like 20, 25 minutes away from
my
Chicago.
old stomping grounds.
Your old stomping grounds. That's right. So they purchased the land, and the assumption was always going to be they can use that for a new stadium. So they kind of lost their leveraging power when they bought the land.
Okay.
Because, why should anybody then bow down to them just because they're the Bears? Like, you have to understand city politics. You have to understand state politics. Just because they're the Bears, you're not going to get what you want. Where Indiana came into play was the Bears, instead of doing what you have to do in Illinois state politics, which is make deals and build relationships and cohorts and things to get stuff done, they're like, well, we're the Bears. Like, of course you'll do this. And they realized, like, JB Pritzker and the rest of the governor's office were like, no, we're not going to just give out like billionaire tax breaks. Like, that's not how we roll. They're like, oh shit. Like, what do we do? So in Hammond, Indiana, so a little bit like close to Gary, but not necessarily in Gary, there's a site that they are considering in Hammond, and Indiana government, instead of Illinois government, is basically saying like, whatever you need, come over the state line. You want those tax breaks? We got it. You want the infrastructure? They are handing everything over to them on a silver plate.
Yeah.
So they don't want to move to Indiana, but they may be forced to do it because they want to own their own stadium, and they want to own, like most other ownership groups, the surrounding areas around the stadium. They want the real estate play. They want the bars, and they want the neighborhoods. They want to find other cash avenues to get people into these stadium villages and surrounding areas, because they know what they can do, and then they can use it for other events. They can use it for concerts if they think they can get a Final Four there. If it's a dome, like, they recognize what's at stake. And so I think the game that the Bears are trying to figure out is, yeah, we're going to get crushed for this if we move to Indiana, but like, is that terrible PR worth the tens or hundreds of millions of dollars that we'll get from all these different tax breaks that are likely to come with Indiana basically handing everything over to us? And that's sort of the existential debate that they're having. They don't want to move, but they might be forced to because the deal is too good on the other side of the state line.
Yeah, and I was about to ask, like, just even like looking at the cost of living between, like, just the property, or not cost of living, but property rates between downtown Chicago and Hammond, Indiana. Like, that's a no-brainer from a real estate perspective. Like,
yes, but I think there's also a lot of nostalgia tied up to seeing the Bears Stadium with the beautiful skyline of Chicago behind it.
Absolutely.
And their president of operations, Kevin Warren, had been trying for the last several years, because he came in after they'd already purchased the Arlington Heights racetrack. So he kept trying to make another play for Chicago, and they were basically calling their bluff and saying like, oh yeah, well, where are you going to do it? How are you going to do it? Are you going to provide the funding? You don't have the money. You don't have the funds. And again, because they thought they were the Bears, they didn't make the coalitions that they needed to really start to put this thing in motion, which if they would have just done that from the beginning, I don't think politicians in Illinois want to be associated as losing the Bears. It's the Bears. Like above all, like even when the Bulls were as crazy as they were in the 90s with Michael Jordan, even with the Cubs winning the World Series, like it's still a Bears town. Like that is you talk about Chicago, it is a Bears city. That is where the discussion will go first and foremost. And so there's pride in wanting to remain in the state of Illinois. Like it's in their silly little touchdown song. You're the pride and joy of Illinois, Chicago Bears, bear down. You going to change it to Indiana? No,
it's not going to rhyme.
Not going to rhyme. But like, it's not out of the question. Like Hammond is right over the border. Like you can still see the Chicago skyline from there.
Well, let me ask you this. In terms of like NFL rules, if a team relocates state line, like from state lines, do they have to officially are they still considered, like, can they still consider themselves the Chicago Bears?
Yes. And that's because both the New York Giants and the New York Jets play in New Jersey.
Oh, geez.
Their stadium is in East Rutherford, New Jersey. I'm trying to think if there's any, like the Dallas Cowboys don't play in Dallas. They play in Arlington, Texas. So there's other examples of this for sure. Now you can make the argument that's like, well, then when did the Jets and the Giants move to New Jersey? They've been in the Meadowlands for a long time. I think it's more of a sense of pride and more of a sense of like civic culture of like, if the Bears leave to go to Indiana, how will that play? And I think what they're trying to actively consider is like, how badly does this hurt our image? How badly does this hurt the evaluation of the franchise if they're in Indiana versus on the Chicago skyline or in Arlington Heights? I don't know, but I also know that they want their tax breaks just like everybody else. And the reason that I've been following the story a lot is not just because it's like the team that I grew up on. In the state of Kansas, this just happened. This just happened where Arrowhead Stadium, where the Chiefs have played since, I think since the 60s or 70s. I'd have to double check where it is. But it's on the Missouri side, and Kansas just gave the Hunt family, which again, like billionaire in oil, gave them like massive tax breaks, and it's going to be like $3 billion in like publicly funded, like Kansas really screwed their citizens on this one. Because the Hunt family didn't need it, but they wanted to get a pro team in Kansas.
Now this is the Ketchup family, right?
No. This is Hunt, like Lamar Hunt, that the name that's on the like the AFC Championship trophy.
I was looking for one reason to not buy Hunt ketchup, but
no. You can still buy your Hunt's ketchup. This is
I don't buy Hunt. I buy Heinz.
Okay. This is an oil family that made its wealth in Texas. And Lamar Hunt, or Clark Hunt, the current chairman and owner of the Chiefs, his dad founded the Chiefs when they moved from Dallas because they were an AFL team trying to compete with the Cowboys. And they're like, well, this isn't going to work. Why don't we try moving them to Kansas City? And they immediately built up a fan base there. And so they were an AFL team, and then AFL met the NFL for the Super Bowl. The Chiefs played in Super Bowl I against the Packers. And, eventually once all teams became a part of the NFL, that led to where things are now. And the Chiefs have a wonderful, like very loyal fan base. Arrowhead Stadium is a great stadium, but it's also like in the middle of nowhere in Independence, Missouri, which is where the Royals team, they're on like a campus. Campus is not a nice word. It's in a complex. Like that would be doing injustice to actual complexes. It's in campuses. It's in a complex, just a big area of land with like nothing really else around it. So like it's great for parking, but there's not a neighborhood. There's not an area around it. And now the Royals are set to build a downtown stadium, which I think will be great for Kansas City. I think that's like you have it in Indy where like it's great to have a downtown presence for your teams with the Pacers there. Obviously, the Colts Stadium is
Colts, the Indians.
Yeah, are they still the Indianapolis Indians? Did they have to change?
Unfortunately, they are.
It?
Yeah, they really are. They need to really consider changing that name.
Yeah,
we also
fair enough. Still the AAA affiliate of Victory Field.
But hey, you know what? I'm going and seeing a game there on Mother's Day, and I'm going to enjoy it. So,
yeah, you enjoy your Indianapolis Natives game.
Exactly. There we go.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So let me ask you this. So, what do you think? What are your hopes with this possible move? And I hope the answer is that it doesn't happen.
To just as a current Indiana taxpayer, for your perspective?
I mean, look, here's the thing. I don't really understand enough about this story to have a firm grasp, but like I don't necessarily feel like we need another pro sports team in the state.
I think the question that you need to ask yourself in part of this as well is, let's say Indiana's state government rolls out the red carpet for the Bears and they give them all the tax breaks they want and they build in Hammond and it's all, fine and dandy. Man, if you're the Irsay family, are you not then going to the state government being like, hey, what about us? Like, you're gonna bail us out too, And then that's when I think really there could be a major issue for Indiana taxpayers. Here, would I like to see the Bears move across state lines? No, but I also don't care. Like I'm honestly, I didn't love going to Bears games anyway. Football to me is a much better experience, like from the couch.
Agreed.
All the other sports, like football is just set up perfectly for like your Sunday and your red zone. If they move to Indiana because they feel like that's the best business decision for them, I will completely understand. I'll be disappointed, but I will understand it. What I don't want to have happen is the Illinois state government caves to the Bears, who have been lazy in this process, who have not put in the time or the work, and then everyone just folds to give the billionaire owners exactly what they wanted in the first place. That to me would be the worst possible situation. There's a cool new neighborhood in Arlington Heights that's like a Bears land, and fine. Like, I'm sure if I ever go, I'll go and I'll take it in, but I don't want residents who shouldn't have to fronting the bill. That's ultimately, out of all of this, if there's one thing that I'm hoping and wishing for, is that the owners pay their fair share. And and if it doesn't happen, then I would rather have it happen in Indiana than Illinois.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
That's where I stand on this.
So really quick, Heisler, is there anything that we can plug for you before we end this episode?
I mean, if you want to follow me, you can do so. I'm still on the tweet machine because that's where a lot of sports news still comes in. At Benny Heiss. I'm also on Instagram there if you want to follow some of my work there. And then I still continue to provide some sports betting analysis and fun for Kansas City Sports Network. So you can follow them and check them out at KCSN, KCSportsNetwork.com. Plenty of good stuff. We go beyond just sort of the local KC stories, but we have a lot of fun there, and I love to be able to continue to do content from them as well. So yeah, at Benny Heiss is probably the easiest way to go.
Awesome. Well, and folks, I hope you tune back into our next episode where Ben and I will be talking about digital sports betting, Polymarket, and some other forms of digital gambling. That'll be in the next episode. But as always, thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Hoosier Homies. Really happy that you joined us, watched us, listened to us, or however you ingested this content. I enjoyed making it. I hope you enjoyed ingesting it. Take care.
Thanks again for watching Hoosier Homies. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you next time. I love you very much.